All right, good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome. I am your host and pilot, Uncle B. Sorry for the slight delay. I was looking at the time and just trying to get some food in me and get kind of settled and everything. And I looked at the time. I'm like, ooh, we got to go flying. So today we are heading from Yangon to Suvarnabhumi. So we're going from Myanmar to Thailand, basically. We're going to cross over here. This is about an hour and 48-minute flight, roughly. I don't think it's going to take us 5 hours to cover 369 nautical miles. And then we're going to turn in this way towards our fixed point of Lonny, Lonny. And then we're going to turn in and land on our runway 1 left, 01 left. So I'm already at the departure runway. I'm just going to get in here, get on the runway, and we will depart. We'll wait a few minutes to see if anybody's going to join in. I don't know if anybody will. If they want to, they're more than welcome to. The information is on the Discord if you want to jump in. If not, it's perfectly fine. Or you can meet us at our first, our VOR DME. Their DWI, there's an airport there if you want to watch for a while and then scoot in for the last part of the flight. You're more than welcome to do that. What happened to my... I need to make sure we are gassed up all the way. But also, I need to know what happened to my stopwatch at the top of my... Where did my stopwatch thing go? Tiny stopwatch. Hello, Joseph. How are you? All right. Let's see. I think. Oh, we got to get our nav point there dialed in. We're in the chat in a moment. We're looking at 11200. Identify on, and we are on a heading at 214 the runway. So once we depart, we know which way to turn. I think we're going to hang a left. Let me look at the VFR map. I think we're doing a left turn. Yep, left turn. All right, perfect. And we can turn those off. We don't need those. Make sure my other lights are on. I think they are. Wings, strobes. Yep. Perfect. All right. We'll wait and see if anybody. We'll wait a minute, see if anybody's going to pop in. Hello, Jody. How are you? Nice to see you here. Yeah, sorry about the farm last night. And it turns out our plans did not go very well according. Our plans didn't go according to plan. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, sorry about that. But I did have time to tinker around last night before I went to bed, so I could try to get up early this morning, which I did do. Got my shopping done. So, yeah. So I did tinker around with the. I'll show you guys the inside. You're going to be amazed with the inside of the Concorde. So. If you think this is complicated, wait till you see the inside of the Concorde. So, all right, I don't think anybody. So let me go ahead and get. I think that's off. Yep, perfect. All right, let's go. Should not take us very long to get up in the air here. And we are in the air. Look at that. Didn't even have to pull back on the stick at all or nothing. Away we go. I like it. I'm going to turn on a heading 145. East southeast of here. We're sufficiently in the air and on our way. All right, let's go ahead. 145. Right, we're on our way to Suvarnabhumi. I'm probably saying that wrong, but that is the must have hit my time to climb. Flaps up. In the air and on our way. Clock is running and we have cleared the tower. So now we're just waiting for our needle there to point us towards our VOR DME there in the distance. 206 nautical miles away. It'll probably be a few minutes before we pick that up. Just doing some ATS ready for Thursday. I'm guessing that's when Mick and Pulse are getting back on ATS so that you can join them, Jody, or I'm guessing. Six viewers in. Thank you all for coming in. Hopefully you enjoyed the stream. We are on our way to Thailand. Actually, this airport is near Bangkok, Thailand. No, don't start giggling there, Joseph. It's the name of the area, Bangkok. Get all goofy and think dirty things. Hello, Amela. How are you? Amela, guess what I had for breakfast this morning? I had... Are you ready for this? Are you sitting down, Amela? I had 2 croissants with my coffee. So how do you feel about that? Oh, and if Daniel watches this another time, I bought today. Oh, Thursday's for Montana. Okay. I did get at Walmart today a dairy milk, the Cadbury dairy milk. I'm okay, Mella. Yeah, got up this morning, got over, got my shopping done. Like, I was one of the first people in line waiting for I was there 10 minutes early, waiting for the door to open. Got in there, got my stuff, got back home, sat down, had my coffee, made some coffee, had a couple of croissants, and just trying to get myself a little bit more awake. And then I look at the time and I'm like, oh, it's already 7:30. I gotta get going here. So yes, I did buy a dairy milk chocolate bar for, yeah, croissants. Yes, absolutely. I bought the 4-pack. All right, we are going to squeeze every bit of speed out of this that we can. We're going to land, and then I'll show you guys. We'll spawn into the Concorde. I'll show you guys the... Yeah, exactly. I thought about it. I'm like... Because normally I buy the Sam's Club's chocolate bars because they have the sea salt and caramel bits with it. I like it because it's a darker chocolate, but with the salt, it's really good. Just a pinch of sea salt. But they didn't have those, so I was like, well, there's the Cadbury milk dairy chocolate bars that I keep hearing about. So I'm like, I might as well try one of these, see what the fuss is all about. So it's in the fridge, so it stays nice and cool, so it won't melt today. Sitting outside the fridge. It'll be a nice cold chocolate bar later on at some point. Tomorrow we will be in the A320, departing from Phoenix, heading to Austin. Phoenix, Arizona to Austin, Texas. Should be a fairly straightforward flight. Yeah, I was able to get the starting up the Concorde isn't so much a problem for me now. But I think what I'm going to have to do. Oh, there's our needle. Perfect. We got our radio navigation needle right there. Perfect. There's a whole checklist, right, for everything. So I think for taking off, cruising, descending, if I follow the checklist, I should be fine. But I have to do a test with the checklist to make sure that I can do that. So. Or that I can follow, or when to do everything at the appropriate time. So, but it's an amazing plane. Just the startup alone is it's pretty cool once you get the whole plane started up and all that. But anyways, so yeah, we'll take a look at the plane real quick once we're done here. So we're almost over the water here. We'll be heading over the water for quite some time. So we'll say goodbye to the land. Hope you have your life vest. Of course, the Uncle B Sim channel is not responsible if we do crash. It's every person for themselves. If you can't make it to shore, sorry for your luck. Now, for a premium price, there will be flotation devices under the seats. You have to pay extra for that. Played Minecraft this morning. Oh, Joseph. What were you building? Throttle just a smidge, and I should probably lean the mixture. Well, let's put it up a little bit higher. Oops, I'm getting off course here. Oh, I was up at 5 this morning. Actually 4:30, but I kind of laid in bed till a little after 5. Got in the shower, got dressed, waited a few more minutes, walked over. Still got there at 5:50 in the morning to over to Walmart. Stood there for like 10 minutes. And one of the workers was like, "Well, the supervisors aren't here yet, so once the doors open, you're gonna have to go through the self checkout." And I'm like, "That's not a problem for me. I don't care. I just want to go and get my stuff." And so I got in there and got everything I had on my list. Added a few extra things, but generally it was in and out. There was like nobody really there, hardly, except for the people working there. So there was still like they had like that the machine that goes and like cleans the floors going around and restocking shelves. But I just got in there, got my stuff, and I was gone. So yeah, it did not take very long at all. I keep dying. Oh, Joseph. Well, all right, though, Joseph. So you keep dying. I'm guessing that means you keep swearing as well. Because you keep dying. So yeah, I was like, it didn't take me long to walk over there, and like there was nobody really out driving around this morning. Walked over there, and I looked at the time, and I'm like, I got here 10 minutes early, and I'm like, I grabbed a cart and just waited outside, and I think I had a sandwich for dinner last night, because last night was just a kind of one of those strange nights. We were supposed to do the teaching raid, and initially we were going to get started early, and then it just went downhill from there, and we were trying, and then it just kind of fell apart. And so yeah, I wasn't really hungry. I did have like pasta. I had a big thing of pasta for lunch, so I wasn't like super hungry. I was all carved up. So yeah, I wasn't really. Plus, it was pretty warm last night, and even this morning when I walked over, it was a little bit humid, and it's cloudy. The Playland theme park. I think I've heard of it. Why do I think I know that? I think I've heard of it, but I don't know why. Or where I've heard about it from. Oh, let's get our... Ooh, this is a nice shot right here. Oops. That's not what I wanted. I wanted showcase. There we go. Oh yeah, that's a good shot right there. Look at that. Perfect. Yeah, I think I've heard of it, but I don't know why or where from. So yeah, it was just one of those nights. What we're trying to do is there's people, so in the game The Division 2, there's what they call a raid, right? And you go in with a team of 8 agents, and there's different parts that you have to get through to get all the way to the end. You have like bosses and stuff that you have to overcome. Like you have to figure out some solutions. It's in Rye, New York. Huh. I have to look that up. Yeah, right, Joseph. You were swearing. Come on now, it's okay. As long as nobody heard you. So there's people who haven't been through it yet, and so we're trying to get them to know understand the mechanics of the raid, basically. And so we had people who were like, yeah, I want to learn, and then for some reason they just get all nervous and they're like, they don't show up, or they're like, so Just so long as you didn't use words that would upset Bex there, Addies. That's all that matters. Matter of fact, I don't think Doris would appreciate a demo. Oh. So if you're dying in the demo, that doesn't give... I wouldn't feel very comfortable then, quite honestly. If you're dying in the demo, that doesn't give me a warm fuzzy about the actual... the full-blown version, quite honestly. There's other lights that are on that appear to be like it's the lights back here or something. It just seems like there's more lights right here, but I cannot dial them down. That's okay. We like a well-lit flight. So yeah, it's just, but it's, if you've never done it before, it's a bit of a learning process, but there was zombies and other things. That's why I don't play games like that. I don't care for zombies. Even if they're attractive-looking zombies, I don't like them. So anyways, so yeah, just, but it's okay. All right, been in the air 17 minutes now. Still got an hour. So according to my calculations, now what I've done is there's a there's a website, the E6B calculator. So I put in the information, and it gave me a time of 1:48 for this leg of the flight. But we've been getting there a little bit quicker. We're doing 119 knots right now. So we got a little bit more oomph in the engines, it seems, for some reason. So we will use that to our advantage, that we will try to cross over the water here as quickly, as expeditiously and forthwith as possible, as we always like to say. And then we'll turn towards our fixed point, and then turn in for landing on runway 01 left. Tomorrow we'll be in the A320. Tuesday we'll be back. We'll be going from Suvarnabhumi to Shumpon. Thursday, Cessna 172 float plane, Port McNeill to Parksville. That's up in Canada. Friday, King Air 350i, Bourques to Saint Yan. I think that's in France, but I might be wrong. It sounds like it's in France. P-38 Lightning flight Saturday. Big flight, Great Falls to Cheyenne. So Montana to Wyoming. We've got quite a bit of ground to cover there. Sunday, another float plane flight, Boisvert and Phil Seaplane Base to Bolton Landing. So we will be going up from Canada down to, I think, Boston or something, near the Boston area, I think, or something like that. And then, yeah. So we're moving right along. So anybody who wants to fly any of those days, you're more than welcome to. Let me double check outside, make sure we didn't have any surprise guests. We are still on the, oh, you know what I didn't do? I apologize. I did not show, oops, online, did I? I did not move myself to online, so if people are looking for me, they can see me. Oopsie daisy. All right, take care, Mela. See you. Thanks for stopping by for a while. We got some lurkers in today, I see. It's all fine and good. Putting Myanmar behind us, heading to Thailand. Yes, got the Junker out again. We will be in the Junker all the way to Indonesia, and then we will be back in the Junker starting on the 22nd of August. After I take a little break, we will start our trip around America in the Junkers 52. Our first flight will be from JFK to Reagan National. Should be a nice little flight. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna come in right by the. We have to follow basically the river. Between where the Pentagon is, the Pentagon will be to our right, the nation's capital will be to our left, but we have to follow a corridor down this river and then turn in for landing. Hopefully it's going to be pretty interesting. But so we will continue flying the Junkers. It's a great plane. I love it. It's very simple. I'm telling you, compared to what you're going to see in the Concorde, this thing is like nothing. Wait till you see all the bits and bobs in the Concorde. You're going to go like, oh, no, I can't do that. No. So yeah, we will be back in the Junkers 52. And we're going to go down the west coast, the east coast. We're going to start at JFK, work our way down, and then along the southern coast, along Florida and Texas and everything, up through California, and then we're going to kind of zigzag a little bit, and then we're going to go back, or we'll return back to JFK for our final flight. But we're going to try to land at some regional airports, not always big airports. We may take off from Denver International or something, for instance, but we're going to try to land at airports that we've not been to yet at all, that can handle the Junkers 52. There's enough runway so that if I have to float over the runway a bit to drop off some speed, we've got plenty of space. So yeah. And then we're also going to be starting at the end of August. We're going to do the first leg of the following the Route 66 from Chicago down. So we're leaving from Chicago and we're going to Lincoln, the capital there in Illinois. So that'll be our first leg, and it kind of follows Route 66, not exactly, but we'll be parallel to it for most of the time. So we'll do that, and I think we're going to do that in the Cessna 208 for that trip all the way to the West Coast. So we'll do that on Thursdays. So if anybody wants to join in for that, they're more than welcome to. Yeah. So Fridays will be floater plane flights. We'll take any kind of floater plane. If you have whatever you have, you're more than welcome to fly it, whatever it is. We're going to we're going to take off and land on water. So we've got some nice flights planned for that. No, Kings Island. Kings Island. I'm trying to think where Kings Island. I'm not sure where that is along the way. Of which flight. I'm guessing, are you talking about floater planes, the Junkers flight, or... I haven't gotten that far. The only thing I've done, I've got the first two legs of the Junkers flight. One's going from JFK to Reagan, and then the next flight will be on that Wednesday Reagan to Wallops flight facility. So that's a nice little flight. They're not going to be very long. So the first floater plane flight will be Port Angeles to Campbell River. There's a where we took off from in the CJ4. There is a oh, there's somebody in a Concorde right there. There is a water runway near there, so we're gonna fly up there. And yeah, so lots of stuff to come up. So we will continue. Ooh, I'm really getting off track here. We will continue our. We'll add more stuff. Sundays. I think the last 2 Sundays of August I will not be flying. I won't be streaming at all. Just kind of taking a couple extra days off, and just to have a little extra break besides the 5 days that I'm going to take off once we complete the flight to Indonesia here in the middle of August. So if it's a floater plane flight, Vengeful, if you give me if you can tell me like an airport code or something real quick, I'll try to look that up and see what we got as far as a flight, where I could take off from or whatever, or depart from Kings Island. The name sounds familiar. I don't know why, but yeah, there's plenty. There's lots more to come. Let's just put it that way. There's beyond the end of August. Really, there's not much set in stone. I've got to put the time in now to get the stuff for the last few days of August going into September, and try to get as much into September so that I have some kind of a plan of what we're going to be doing. But I do want to do a flight. I'm not sure which day it's going to be. And I know I get that not everybody has the Concorde, and that's fine. They're cruising along there at 60,000 feet. But I do intend to do a flight in the Concorde. I meant to do it before, and I just kind of got sidetracked and all that. But I think during those 5 days off, I'm going to do a flight. And actually, it's going to be from JFK to Heathrow. That'll help out because we'll probably cross the Atlantic a little bit quicker, because we might get a little bit of a tailwind pushing us eastward. So I think that'll be better. We'll do it with live weather and all that, so that we're not just looking at so yeah, it'll be but if you have one and you want to fly along with and all that, you're more than welcome to. If not, it's perfectly fine. 28 minutes in the air so far. Still see the edge of the coastline there. Still in sight. Let me see. Kings. Now you got me wondering what Kings Island is. Vengeful. Is it King Island or King? Australia. Australia. Oh yeah, I'm not sure which. Kings Island. I don't know. I'm guessing you're talking about in Australia. I'm guessing that's what you're talking about. Is that correct, Vengeful Squid? You're talking about somewhere in Australia, Tasmania, Australia area. We could go back to, if there's water runways, I certainly would be happy to do a floater plane flight there. I flew, I've been through the area kind of. I joined Captain Ars's flight probably after he got there. So he might have flown over that part. I joined him in Perth. So I don't know where that is in relation to where he's been around Australia already. So I don't know. But yeah, if there's, I can certainly look to see if there's a water runway of some kind, or well, there's so Wednesdays. Wait, is it no Tuesdays? We'll have what we call small plane, small airport. So I think where is it? So yeah, Monday, Wednesday, no Tuesday. So yeah, we're in the Cessna 152, departing from Oscar 46 Weed Airport in California. We're heading to Alturas Municipal. Very short flight. So if there's small airports that we can fly, like the Cessna 152 or something like that, something small where we can just take off and fly for about an hour or so and land somewhere, that's perfectly fine. I'll have to look at that area. We can, if it's not if it's not going to be a floater plane flight, then we can probably squeeze it into the small plane, small airport. So if we depart from Kings Island Airport, we can find maybe a small municipal airport to land, to go to the land, or something like that, or just even a small field that's like a dirt patch or something. I don't know. So perfectly willing to do that. But yeah, if it's, I'm guessing you mean Australia. Look outside. Concorde's still cruising along there, breaking the sound barrier multiple times, cruising at 60,000 feet. Oh, you guys are gonna love that view from 60,000 feet. We're gonna just be hanging out here, just booming all the time. Boom, boom, boom. You'll probably get tired of hearing the sonic booms. You think I get the feels in the nether regions when I start up the F-14? Oh, I'm telling you, when you start up the Concorde, it's a whole other amazing feeling to get that whole thing started up and all that. So I'm really looking forward to doing that flight. But I think, again, it's like, if I follow that, because I think that's what the pilots did in real life. They had a checklist at certain points along the way. They had a, hey, we got to do this, 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 and this, and this, in this order, and then, okay, now we're good for the next however long, So, yeah, we can do that. I think if I follow that, it should be successful for the flight. I think I see land. Let's see, 33 minutes in the air. Still got another 45 minutes or so. Or well, over an hour and 15 minutes, according to the E6B calculator. Tell you, some people have like the one with the wheel and all that kind of stuff, but that website certainly makes it a lot easier to calculate stuff, because reading the wheels a bit, you might get your numbers wrong. So they do have, it's almost like a calculator type thing that you can plug the numbers in, and it'll give you all your information. Let's have a look here where we are. So if we've been in the air about half an hour already, we're seeing, see if we see more land in front of us, then I think we're getting closer to our, been stuck at sea for years and never seen land, must be a mirage. Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's funny, I was over by the Walmart on the corner. There's like a sign, a recruiting little sign for the U.S. Navy. I very nearly, that was my service of choice, really. I probably should have gone to them before the Army contacted me. There's a story that goes like, your first to contact, first to contract. So whatever service generally calls you and says, hey, you know, what are you going to do after high school, kind of thing. That fan got me, man. You know, that's the one that you're probably going to join. The only one I probably would have said no to straight away would have been the Marine Corps, quite honestly. I had a friend in high school from a different high school. He was looking to join the military, and so he talked to a Marine recruiter who said, well, they have, like, back in the day, and they still have it, the Marines, it's like a pre-basic training program. And they teach you how to march, and basically it's kind of prepares you for life as a Marine, and I think it gives you better chance of success in basic training and all that. So we went, he picked the both of us up on a Saturday morning, real early. We went over to Alameda Naval Air Station back when it was open. They had the Marine Heavy Lift Unit there. And so they, we had breakfast. I was too nervous to eat. Like, I was like, no. There was so much yelling and shouting and stuff, and I'm like, my stomach was like, nope, not having it. So we walked around and kind of observed and everything. And so at the end of the tour, the recruiter turned to my buddy and said, so what do you think? And he said, well, quite honestly, sir, this is not for me, but thank you for your time. The recruiter was like, but no, thank you. I saw enough, and I can tell you now the Marine Corps is not for me. So he ended up joining the Navy as an airframe mechanic, working on whatever aircraft he was assigned to. But yeah, I'll never forget that. Oh, it was such a miserable experience, and my buddy was like, no, no, thank you. Which in a way is good, because then hey, I thought about it, and thank you for giving me an insight into what to expect. No, thank you. So, yeah, it was, yeah, the Navy was I think I should have gone to them instead of waiting for the Army to contact me. But I don't know what I would have done in the Navy, quite honestly. But I think I would have probably done better there than they did in the Army, quite honestly. I'm saying that quite a bit. Stuff happens. Alright, I see land. I kind of see, I think, kind of a faint hint of an outline there. So I think we're almost across the water here. Yeah, it's sure. I look. Oh, that Concorde's already gone. Look at that. He's already on the other side of the world right now. Probably either heading to France or to Wasn't there was one that went from Singapore to France or something like that? I have to. You know what? While we're just kind of cruising along here, I want to check. So I'm almost certain there's a book about the history of the Concorde and the routes and everything. I'm kind of curious about the history of. I think that's our. Let's see, 42 minutes so far in the air. Hopefully we get to our first nav point, our lone VR DME here, a little bit quicker than an hour 48. Look, usually we've been about 10 minutes or so earlier than expected, but we'll see. And then we have, according to my calculations, a 1 hour 18-minute run to our fixed point. We'll turn in on 015 and put it in for landing. So that's the plan. Just cruising along rather nicely here. Almost at 7,600 feet. Might as well say we're at 7,600 because might as well just round up. Lurkers are in and out, I see. Here on a Monday morning, afternoon, evening, depending on where you are. Welcome. Reckon Skepticontin is one of the lurkers. If you're there, Skeptic, hello. Hope you are well. Mick might be one of the lurkers. Who knows? Mick, if you're there, hello. Allie might be lurking. I don't know. Perhaps. I can only guess who the lurkers are. Based on the usual suspects. All right, so that we are a little bit closer there, so based on that, I believe we're not too much farther to go to our nav point over an airport there. The VOR, where we're going to cross at, is on what's the name of the airport? I think it's the last airport in Myanmar, and then we cross over, and then from there we're going into Thailand. BYDW. Yeah. Dawi Airport. Probably pronouncing that. So we're coming, so the VOR, we should fly over and see the control tower and like the terminal area, and then we'll see our VOR there, or we'll not that we'll see it, but we'll be passing right over it in there, and then we'll turn on 105. So back tomorrow, A320 from Phoenix to Austin. Phoenix, Arizona to Austin, Texas. Fly with some live weather there, just to make things interesting. We should be crossing back onto land here pretty soon. Almost at 48 minutes of flying, so we've got about an hour supposedly left on this leg. All right. So yeah, no trains this coming Sunday. We're just going to do the seaplane base flight. Should be nice, some nice scenery there. For those who want to join in, more than welcome to. We've got a couple of waypoints that we're going to turn, and just to kind of take in some of the scenery there up in Canada. The northwest coast, I believe. So, should be good. There's landing in front of us. Getting closer. So we are, I think, more than halfway to our first nav point, according to the sky vector chart. Seeing this, we should be making landfall here pretty soon. It's going to be a quick. We're gonna actually, well before our nav point, we'll make landfall. There should be some high, kind of high, low to mid mountains to our left, and then we're going to turn for 149? Yeah, 149 nautical miles. We're going to fly over some mountainous areas, and it'll go flat again, and then we're going to head out just a little bit over the water for our one fixed point to turn in on runway 1 left. So that's the semi-official plan. So yeah, we will incorporate, even though that's, I mean, generally what the pilots probably did was they would fly over the airfield, identify that they were in the right spot, make sure that they, the layout of the airport matched what they had in their charts and everything, and then they would circle back around and land. But for expediency purposes, we're going to kind of expedite things by having a point for us to navigate to, and so that we can turn in and we're lined up on our runway a little bit quicker. That'll help make sure that we're slowed down enough and at the right altitude and everything, so we're not kind of guesstimating and lately I think I've been coming in too steep of an angle as we're coming around to line up, so this will help. We have a target altitude that once we get to our fixed point prior to landing, we need to be at about 2,500 feet. So that gives us a target to shoot for. And then we will tune in on a, I think there's a less frequency at the end of the runway there. Okay. So yeah, we'll even tune in on that, and that'll, once we get closer to our turn point, and we'll dial that in, and that'll lock us in on the localizer, and she got us right on in. Might as well use what we have available to us, even though that wasn't available back then. And I'm not sure exactly which route they would have flown, or I don't even remember if this was a, because I did break this up. There was some legs that were like 8 hours in length, or about 6 hours or something like that. But they did that whole flight in a week. But I had to break it up. There was just no, I could do it all in a week, but it would just be way too much flying. I would be burned out for sure by the end of the flight each day. I would not want to do it. I would shut off the Xbox, and that would be the end of it. And, yeah. So, but it's been a pretty amazing journey, I think. We've been to a lot of different places around the world so far. Heading into Thailand. I don't know that I've ever flown in or out of Thailand here in the sim yet. I might have early on, I just don't remember. Because I did do a lot of flying in different places and stuff like that. So, we've gotten to see some amazing places along the way, I think. Yeah. Oh, and For Simmers, who does a lot of livery packs, they have a um, Blue Angels pack ready for the Asobo F-18. Um, so there's an update that's supposed to come out for that, and then a week or so after that, For Simmers expects that so they have one for each numbered aircraft in the Blue Angels fleet. So 1 through 8 or something like that. So each one has their distinctive numbers, so you can fly whichever. And there are people who do like I think there's a group that does Thunderbird flights, because there's an F-16 Thunderbird livery for the F-16 from DC or from SC Designs. I'm sorry, and so that's supposed to be coming out here in the next week or 2 or 3, something like that. 17 days from now, we do get the Q&A with the developers. See what they have to say for Sim Update 10 and other fixes that are expected, hopefully. See what happens this Thursday, our first Thursday of August. It's hard to believe that 12 years ago when I was in Iraq, well, 12 years ago this month, I don't remember the exact day. I could probably find a date. Fact. Let's just see some here real quick. I think I have it. Let's see. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. I do not. But anyway, 12 years ago, I was went to Baghdad for a ceremony where I was awarded my combat medic badge. I believe it's been 12 years already. Jeez. Where'd the time go? So that should be those low mountains, I believe, that will be on our right as we come into our airport there. So we're almost there, our first nav point. We've been flying an hour, just over an hour now. Almost an hour and 1 minute. So I think we're going to cross that VOR a little bit quicker than an hour 48, but we'll see how quick. I think the Either well, it said a 5-hour flight. That's way overestimated, I think. Um, but I think even an hour 48 might be. I'm guessing we're going to get there about an hour 30. But we'll see. We still got to get over the land here, but at least we have some features in sight that we can kind of see, kind of guesstimate our location. So I'm guessing if I see these mountains over here, this coastline. Okay, there is. Let me zoom in just a smidge here. It almost looks like there's an island there, but I don't think that's the case. No, well, maybe it is. Okay. Is that there then? That's farther out. That doesn't look like it's far enough out. Maybe it's that. There. Even that's supposed to be farther out. Alright, so there's more. There's that. Alright, so yeah, we still got a little bit to go. I have a pretty good idea where we're at now based on these little islands we're seeing out here. Still got a little bit more to go. Okay. I would like to see, I don't know if there's a possibility or if they even exist anymore, but what kind of charts did the KLM pilots have in the 1930s that they used to navigate with? What did they, or was it just notes, or what did they use to verify visually they were where they were supposed to be? Or what aeronautical charts existed for this route? I'm guessing, well, certainly most every pilot that flew this route was already familiar with the region, so they balloon chart. Yeah, they could tell. They knew from memory where they were. So. So yeah, those pilots probably had been on that route for quite some time, so they had already had a memory of where everything was, so they knew, and probably the navigator did as well, or they had an idea. They could look and say, yeah, we know roughly where we are and how much farther we've got to go, and all that. So we got, this is a VORDME, so I'm surprised we're not getting the Morse code on this one. We haven't heard anything, but we're certainly heading towards the correct spot. must have had some. I mean, they would have had to set some kind of charts. Because if the navigator would, they would say, okay, we're going from here to here. This is that first leg, and then from here we're turning on this heading. Tell you what, from the West Coast tidal breathing, I don't think there's anything like the tidal dangers that come with inlets and bays. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. Yeah, I would think the navigators and the captains of the ships, in the early part of naval history, that's probably why a lot of ships were sunk in those areas, because they didn't they didn't know about that, the ways that the tides acted and everything. So they may have thought that there was enough there's enough depth for them to get in there safely, but they may have overestimated or underestimated, whatever. And yeah, I would imagine it was very dangerous to navigate in those waters, or in some cases it was even just as dangerous to try to drop anchor off the coast and then take small boats into the bay, for like supplies or whatever. So it was probably that, along the coastline, especially if there was a storm, it was there was just no safety almost anywhere. You'd run the risk of running aground or getting pushed into the oh, I heard there's an area, I think it's in Washington, or maybe there's an area where the Coast Guard trains. It's like one of the most dangerous passes. It might be that Deception Pass in Washington. Yeah, like I would not want to be in a Coast Guard cutter crew out there or anything. Yeah. That is just, no. I saw a video, or I saw it on something like a documentary or whatever, and I'm like, no. No. I would be over the side hurling the entire time. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, that's just not no thank you. Yeah, exactly. That's the one. That's what I thought it was. I thought I'd heard of it before, but yeah, the Coast Guard, I'd be like, did they say, okay, we got to go out train? No. No, not today. Not today. Tomorrow's not looking good either. Man. I could not imagine being like a fresh lieutenant out of the academy, and that's like your first assignment, and it's just like, that would be too much to deal with, I think. No, thank you. And I mean, the Coast Guard crews that go out there to rescue people, I mean, that's got to be even more dangerous, because you got to deal with all the different ways that the water's going, and yeah. Yeah. That is certainly not a spot I would want to mess with. Let's put it into port here. Nope, let's keep going. But we're almost out of fuel. I don't care. Just keep going. Just put the sails up. Start paddling. I don't care. We're not going to try to get in there. I couldn't imagine being on cargo ships or anything like that. I've seen, there's a live feed up, I can't remember where it is, but it's like during the winter, it's one of the hardest ports to get into because of the winter weather. Like the area can freeze over real quick. Yeah, it's amazing. I can't remember where it is though. I have to look on my list of YouTube channels I follow, but I watched that for a little while, and I'm like, especially if it's like foggy and with the snow and everything. Yeah, it's like a really dangerous port to get into. Yeah. Yeah, that's just it's crazy. Um I I would not want to be a merchant marine or any kind of a I, I've heard though like one of the best jobs, and I've known some people, I've friends of family who went through the tugboat training, started off and worked their way up and now are tugboat captains and ports and all that. That I've heard that's supposed to be a really interesting job, but um, I watched they had like a super one of those big cruise ships coming into port, and they got to slow down, wait for the like the I guess I don't know if it's a harbor master or somebody who knows like the whole waterway and will tell them how to steer the boat so that or the ship so that they stay in the deepest water possible for as long as possible. They know the whole layout, that whole area, and when to turn and all that. It's a very um, it's an amazing job, I think, but the stress that because if you make one mistake, that ship's going to run aground and it's going to be your fault because you were in charge of the navigating of that area. Um, but yeah, they have to slow down, and there's like a little door that they open up, and the person hops aboard and they get up to the bridge, and they pull open the charts and everything, on computer screens and all that, and they say, okay, head this way. This is how fast you should be going for this long, and all that. It's very precise. And if either that person makes a mistake or the crew makes a mistake, it's it could end up costing people their lives or a lot of money or both. But down in Savannah, and I don't know if he still is, but what's her name? The chef, but trained to, but aerograph, yeah, yep, yep. Um, oh, I can't think of her name. She's like a famous chef. She was on TV for a number of years. Anyway, her husband was a tugboat captain on the Savannah River. Um, Paula Dean, that's her name. Paula Dean's husband was a tugboat. I don't know if he still is or if he's retired now, but he was a tugboat captain uh, there in Savannah. I think we had a family member's son was a tugboat. I don't know if he still is. I think he was a tugboat captain there in the San Francisco Bay Area, either bringing ships into port there at Oakland, where there's a big facility for cargo, or over on the other side in San Francisco, there's still, I think, a cargo port there. But it's really big over in Oakland. Matter of fact, if you see the movie Moneyball, there's a point where Brad Pitt's driving. You can see that whole area, kind of the ports and with the big cranes for um, the cargo containers to be lifted off and moved to another spot on shore. Yeah, it's a very easy site to kind of pick out in the Bay Area, whether you're driving or flying. You see that and you kind of know exactly where you are in the Bay Area. Because that's another area where they have to be very precise during certain tides, or time of the tide, that They may have to anchor and wait for the tide to come in before they can go to their docking spot. And of course, there's plenty of pictures out there of when, the Navy had a big presence in the Bay Area. A lot of the, when you had a carrier fleet, the whole support group around the carrier and all that, they would come into port there in San Francisco, and all that for Fleet Week. Some ships would dock in San Francisco along the waterfront there, and others would go over to Alameda or around there for to dock for the time in port. All right, hour 17. Yep. And there's like cruise ship docks now. I think they go from San Francisco down to Mexico. Or maybe they do it would be a long cruise, but maybe even go from, well, no, it wouldn't be San Francisco up to Alaska. That would be quite a long time, but they probably do San Francisco down to Puerto Vallarta or something like that. Oh, the horrors are coming back. I used to love Fleet Week. Even before I was in the military, that was like one of my favorite times in the Bay Area. Visiting the carrier especially. That was always, I never wanted to visit any other ship when they were in port. Always the carrier. Never got a West Coast Fleet Week. Yeah, for many years, it was like a big to-do in the Bay Area. And, they would always, it was such a big deal. You had like people who would adopt a sailor for a week and, get them home cooked meals and stuff like that. If they didn't have family in the area or anything like that. Just, I think that was a nice thing for people to do. But yeah, I always loved visiting the carrier. It was always like, I wanted to see the planes, I never liked riding the elevator. That part freaked me out when you got on the aircraft elevator. I was like, I don't feel too comfortable with this. And my dad always, no, it's fine. If they could put an aircraft on this, nothing's going to happen. I'm like, well, I don't know. So what if this thing just suddenly folds down and that's it? Yeah, I did go on I've been on a couple landing carriers that the Marines use with the landing ships, and they have the helicopters and the Harriers and all that. Those are pretty cool because you go down in the deck there that they flood, and then they've got all their equipment lined up that they just drive right on there. And they go and head off to the beach and all that. But yeah, I did love the aircraft carriers, the big ones. Those were always cool. So it wasn't so much about seeing the ship itself. It was more about what aircraft were they going to have parked up there for everybody to kind of look at. Yeah, and those were great times. I always enjoyed that. I don't remember what holiday was when we went to our first one. I think one of the first ones I got to do was when the Enterprise. I think was the Enterprise or the Kitty Hawk. I have to ask my dad. He might remember. But yeah, we used to try to go every year, but I only got to see the Blue Angels once in the Bay Area. And that was, that was a long time ago. I remember I stood on the deck of a landing carrier and they came across the bay, and oh, it was amazing. Because they took off from Moffett and came up running for the Marines. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they came up from Moffett, and then they came over the Bay Bridge and just went right across the bay there. It was amazing. I've never seen the Thunderbirds, though. I've always wanted to see the Air Force demonstration team. But I've seen the Blue Angels. I'd like to see the Thunderbirds once, just to say I've seen them both. I don't think I didn't get to see. I don't think I saw Fat Albert take off the C-130 that they had with the jetpack that they would take off and like that and take zoom up quickly. All right, let's see here. Let's have a look at our. All right, we should be. There's that waterway there. All right, so we should be almost over our airports here in a moment, I think. Once we get validation of where we are, I kind of get a feeling I know where we are. Okay, yep, I know exactly where we are. We still got to go a little bit more inland. We're almost there, folks. Yeah, when I worked at the MEPS for a while, my roommate for a while was a Marine gunny. He was an infantry. Started off at School of Infantry and everything, and then got selected for recruiting, and then got promoted. I guess for recruiting, most every service you get promoted quicker in recruiting as long as you make mission. But he used to tell me stories about being, like, yeah, I'd be out on the ship and there was nothing to do but work out. Unless you were, the only other duty you might be on was be, ship security, walking around kind of thing. But, yeah, the Marines always had their gym set up anywhere. They could find a spot on a ship, they'd set up a gym. I'll never forget. We were at this restaurant. It was a microbrewery. I don't know if it's still open. Called the Tide House in Mountain View, and we had dinner there one night because it was one of our favorite places to go. And they had like this. They had a fantastic oatmeal stout that was brewed right there. And so we were sitting there waiting for our check, and yeah, the beers come in a nice pint glass with the logo of the Tide House on there and everything. And he was like looking at it, he's like, man, it's a really nice glass. And then he said, what would keep me from walking out of here with this glass and just, And I said, your pride as a Marine? And he looked at me, he said, man, you had to go there, didn't you? I'm like, hey, you guys always talk about being honorable and stuff, so... Dang. He's like, all right, I won't walk out of there with the pint glass. I said, well, don't let me stop you. I'm just saying, you asked the question. I just gave you an answer. All right, we're almost to our first nav point. Hour 26 flying so far. So I'm kind of guessing I won't be too far off the mark of about an hour 30 or so. Maybe a little bit above an hour 30, crossing our first nav point there. And we'll turn towards... Now there is a VOR, I believe, at our destination airport that we could tune into. Yeah, 11140. Okay, we could tune into that, but we'll stay on our track of 105. Alright, there's that little waterway. Trying to see roughly where... Past that should be back here behind us. Yeah, we should be almost to our airport here shortly. Oh, I think I know where Mr. Addies is buggered off to. Joe's live on Train Sim. On the PC side, doing some steam locomotive action. Oops. All right, well, we're plugging right along here, folks. Thank you all for sticking around, hanging out. Thank you for had some high numbers there for a little bit, kind of high, yes. And, just making our way. Hello, Sergeant Staff. How are you? Nice to see you here. Great flying the other day. Really enjoyed that. Nice to see some the bit of the 414 that you flew. It was live. Yeah, 150th year of the Terrier. Yep. Yeah, it was good flying. Really enjoyed that. I like that the de Havilland float plane that you had. That looks amazing. I think it's the Otter. It's cool. Yeah, it's an amazing. It kind of reminds me of the. There is a Cessna that we got from Coronado, I think. The Twin Otter looks amazing, but there is one that's like the 414 that came out on the Xbox a few months ago or so, because the flight deck looked very similar. Yeah, I think it's a 310. No, this was from Coronado. I can't remember which one it was, but it looks a little bit. The flight deck reminded me a little bit of the 414. Kind of made me think of that. Yeah, I'll have to look it up. I'll show you. I have it installed. I'll show you when I get done on the list here, or when we get done with the flying, because we're gonna pop into the Concorde real quick, because I'm going to show everybody what what I'm getting myself into once I get to grips with the whole thing, all the switches and knobs and dials and stuff. Yeah, that's okay. Um, yeah, it came out. I want to say it was either May, sometime in May, maybe. There was like a bunch of planes that came out from Coronado. Oh yeah, it is. I think what I'm gonna have to do is follow like a the whole checklist, like the real life Concorde crew would do. I think that's our airport right there. It's near a river, I believe. Let me double check here. Yeah, yeah, the DC-6 I've heard is another. You got to really read the manual and everything. Yep, there's our airport right there. It looks like. So yeah, let's have a look here. One of the runways is near a water. Yep, there it is. Ta-da! So we are heading towards the middle of the. Kind of in the middle of the airport there. Yeah, it's I can get it started up with the checklist. I couldn't do it from memory really. I have to have the checklist open, but yeah. I like to. I wonder if there's a way to get a copy of that. I know like Captain Arish has one for the like the Cessna one. On a flight between Fear. Oh, wow. Yeah. Wow. One engine go out. Landed on 3. Well, you know what? It wouldn't surprise me if that's what happened in real life a lot of the times. You know. They were like, yeah, they lose one engine. Yeah, he is. I love watching his streams. I tell you, I was thinking about this the other day, and I did catch him live for a little bit when he was actually going on a real world flight there near where he lives, and my whole outlook on Microsoft Flight Simulator in general changed a lot when after he rated my channel, because you know for a while there it was like, oh, I'll just fly everything A320. Yeah, it's probably, yeah, I would say that's probably true, I would imagine. But you know, but when I flew with him the first time in the Cessna 172, it made me really think about, there's all this stuff I'm missing flying with general aviation, and all of a sudden it just changed my whole outlook flying in the sim. Like, there's a whole area of aviation that I haven't really even touched on. Looks like a golf course right there by the airport. Wow. Yeah. I don't know how many. Maybe it's a 9-hole executive or something. All right. We need to tune into. Let's see, what was it? Is. Hold on a second. It was 111 something. 111.40. I'll tune into that. We're going to go on a heading of. But yeah, it really changed my outlook on flying general aviation and all that. Oh, we got to go on a heading of 105. So yeah, it really kind of opened my eyes to different types of flying. Okay, we are past the runway. Perfect. Oh, it's going to get a little bumpy here, folks, as we cross over these mountains. Let me get back to the. I gotta. So yeah, about an hour 36 was our time. Say an hour 35 for prosperity's sake. Let me get the stopwatch restarted. I do on air, and the twin otter has been my primary, but now I accidentally bought the 414. You accidentally bought it? uh, that's pretty good. Oops, I slipped and I accidentally put in to buy this plane with my debit card or credit card. How did that happen? Oops. Click the wrong button. There you go. I just meant to look at it, not purchase it. But oh well. But yeah, he's really helped me out a lot, especially with streaming. Like the day he came in, I was just having a really, it was not my best stream at all. And yeah, he's now on the plane in on air. Oh. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, he is. He's really helped me out a lot. Any questions I've had about streaming, for instance, or anything like that, he's been more than happy to answer questions or make suggestions or whatever. You know, always a very happy person. You know, I love the whole salute thing when he sees you. You know, in the chat, he gives the old salute and you know everything. Yeah, really welcoming. I love watching his streams. Him and Allison both too. I love watching them both, especially on Saturdays. I watched most of their flight on Saturday. Yeah, I love watching them both. They have such a great interaction, I think, between the two of them. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I like there's people always willing to help other simmers out, or sometimes even other streamers. You know, small suggestions, stuff like that. Um, but yeah, anytime generally if I've run in now, I know a lot of people are generally on the PC side, so some of the issues I run into on the Xbox are kind of like, yeah, I don't know what to tell you about that one, or you know, but yeah, I like the fact that you know most everybody's kind of like, it doesn't matter if you're flying on the PC or the Xbox. If you're here to fly, you're more than welcome to fly with us. You know, that's their mindset. And unfortunately, that's not always the case, because there's always those people who are just like, oh, you're on the Xbox side. But generally, I've found a lot of people have been very willing to help out, help me grow as a simmer. You know, more information and different things that I can do, and all that. So, or just in general flying. You know, the way I fly, or show you the way. I like that. I'm always willing to learn different things, because there's always something that I don't see or think about that it's like, well, did you do this, and it's like, oh, wow, I did not know that. Thanks, you know, kind of thing. It does help out quite a bit when you have people who are like, hey, if you click this button, you do this, and you can see. It's like, oh, like, you know, when I would flying in the A320, for instance, I would take off and I would think that the flight plan's fine, and then I would get to like my arrival point, and it's just like a hot mess for some reason. I'm using the standard controller right now, Sergeant Staff. I've looked at. I know the HOTUS right now. There's a HOTUS one that's on. I can get it for like $70 on Amazon right now, for instance. But some people are like, well, if you're gonna get one, you might as well get like the, you know, go for something more. It's just I don't have a space. Like I don't have a proper desk to put the mount, like the Alpha Yoker, or even the Velocity 1, for instance. Yeah, it's I've been doing it since I bought this for over a year now. I've just been flying with the controller. Yeah, it's like when I landing, when I get ready to land the Junkers, you know, I'm having to using my left thumb only on that stick, it's like my thumb starts to get tired very quickly. It starts to go to sleep. And so I have to like take my hand off the controller, shake my hand real quick, and then put, before I crash, So I just don't have like a desk type situation where I could mount everything. But I am thinking of, some people are like, well, the HOTUS is kind of like, I don't know. I wouldn't go, if you can get the Velocity one, that's better, but I just don't have any place to mount it, really. But I would like to get something, but I know I have to use, well, I want to get a keyboard and mouse as well to do, like, when I was messing around with the Concorde yesterday, I'm like, just trying to stay on the engineer station, right, where all the switches, a lot of the switches are for the to start up the aircraft and all that. I'd hit a button and it would take me right back to the pilot seat. I'm like, if I have a mouse and keyboard, I can just press something. I can stay right there and get all that done, and then I could go back to the pilot seat. I've seen those, and I want one, but it's just like, what would I mount it on? Because I don't think I could just set it on the floor either. But there would be no space for me to turn, really use the yoke properly. It's got to be kind of free, like a regular yoke is. So, it's just kind of like, I don't know. I did tune into 111. Let me make sure I got that correct. 111.40. I feel like it's not. Yep, alright. Yep, we're probably too far out for it to pick up. Maybe once we get clear of these mountains. But, I'm thinking about just getting the HOTUS throttle and all that, but I've heard if you pull back too far on the stick or something, it's like your plane goes into reverse automatically or something. I think Oz Nomad was talking about that. He had one and it was just too much of a headache to deal with. I don't know. I looked at the Warthog. The Warthog's really nice. Because it has like the springs, but I don't know. I do intend one day soon to get a PC system and have all that, kind of like what Captain Arsh has with the whole setup, but because it seems like his space is a bit cramped because he's got the keyboard up above the yoke and all that. So it's kind of like, when I move out of my apartment here, my goal is to have, a space where it's just, I could have a computer with a nice monitor, decent sized monitor and all that with the yoke and throttle and the keyboard and stuff like that. And then I would eventually like to have like a streaming laptop, not so much another desktop. His is like above, and it's like he's got to reach over a little bit sometimes to type. It seems. I see him on the camera, like the little side view, and it's looks like cramped quarters there. I thought about something like that. There are like cheap computer desks, but I don't, like, I would want to use my 32-inch TV as a monitor. So I don't know how I would do that, but there might not be enough room on the computer desk or on a small desk like that. But yeah, I thought about that. I could probably get one ordered from Amazon pretty cheap, and then get a keyboard and mouse as well, just to get things kind of set up a little bit, and then maybe down the road get or get the Velocity one. Maybe if I could find one on sale. I know like the Boeing yoke and throttle is on sale on Amazon right now. I don't know if the sale's ended, but that is a fantastic looking. Like when he got the yoke, I think it was the yoke at least from Allison. Man, that thing is amazing. But also I know like I would have to learn how to fly all over again using the yoke and throttle, because it would be a much different feel compared to the using the controller and my thumb. So that's the difficult part. Um, so I'd have to kind of go back and learn how to fly all over again. Especially with takeoff. Maybe not so much the takeoffs, but the landings for sure. It'd take me a while to get it on the ground correctly and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, but I would like to get no, I wouldn't imagine it would be, but for me, it would take me a couple times, and I'd probably be okay with it. Like when he landed with the, oh, I can imagine, yeah, you just make those small adjustments, and, next thing you know, it's like, so much easier. Because, like my landings, sometimes I have some pretty decent landings with just using the controller, but it's like, man, I feel like I could do better, you know. But yeah, like when he landed the first time with the Boeing yoke, after he got it set up from Allison, it was like he's like, yeah, it feels a lot different compared to his Alpha yoke. There's more feedback because it's got the springs and everything. It's a much better design yoke system, I think. But yeah, it put him off a bit, not like in a bad way, but it was a different experience for him. Oh, there's a couple people in the air. Yeah. Oh, he got the Boeing, the Thrustmaster Boeing yoke. Allison gifted to him, I think, a couple months ago, and he did a whole unboxing and everything, and he plugged it in, and he did a flight with the 737, I think, with it, and he was like, yeah, it feels a lot different. Like the first time he landed, it was a different feeling for him, but yeah, it is. But they have them on sale. But again, it's like, man, I'd like to get one of those, but it's like, do I get it and then just try to get a desk of some kind and just make the space for the desk? Maybe I probably could if I really put my mind to it. Honestly, I do have a spot that I could probably put a small apartment desk together. But yeah, it's a really nice looking system. It could probably fit barely on a, but also, like, my only concern would be like the throttles. Like, this has got three. How do I do the throttles and all that with that? Maybe I can make have three throttles on there, but then that means I have to use my keyboard probably for like the flaps and stuff like that. So I could probably do it. I don't know. I'd have to figure out how to map it, because I think that's the key is that a lot of people have problems with, is they map their flight yoke and the throttle and everything, and then something happens in that whole, it's like gone. So they have to yeah. Oh, you have a setup. Oh, nice. Yeah, because you could probably do three throttles, and then you could bind one for the mixture for all three mixtures, sort of thing. On the 52, the retrofit has you can feather the props and all that too, so you probably have to set something up for that. But yeah, I have, my goal is to get a computer and just because there's just so much more that you can do there on the computer than you can on the Xbox, quite honestly. I mean, I like this for what it is, and it's great. I grew up loving aviation. I lived near Oakland, and you could go. There's like a marina area that you could sit and watch the planes coming in to Oakland. Um, three for the yeah. Yeah, it's a yeah. I'm sure there's ways to map it. Let me see, just out of curiosity. Now you kind of piqued my curiosity here. We'll put it in an apartment. Let's see if I can find one. What's one go for? Well, that's not too bad. Well, there's one. There's a gaming desk for $99. That would be a good start, I guess. I could probably squeeze that in here somewhere. I do have like but it's a squeaky chair that I could use for seating until I get a proper gaming chair. Well, that's not a bad price, quite honestly. At least I could start with that, and then if I can get a Velocity one, maybe for a decent price. I might be able to do that. Yeah. Well, I have a small one that they call it like a TV dinner table, but I've got my laptop right next to me on that, and then I've got enough space for my coffee and some water and stuff like that. I thought about that as well, but it's like I definitely would need something different. But I could make the space if I really wanted to. Yeah. Because then, I mean, I would just get rid of my TV stand and put the desk over there. No, that's not a bad idea, actually. I might have to think about that. But it means I would not have the recliner would be out of use, really, because I'd just be sitting in the big fancy chair. Although that probably wouldn't be very comfortable after a while, because it's not, can't really get comfortable in the goofy leather chair that squeaks a lot. All right, been in the air on this track for about 18 minutes. Yeah, I do the best with it that I can. It's not always easy. But I do like it overall. It has, like when I found like the little airport that I used to stop at as a kid when we would go visit my grandparents. There was this it was called the Nut Tree, and they had a restaurant, but they had this huge bookstore. And it's got a small airport. The airport's still there, but you could go in and find that's where I got like all kinds of aviation books about military planes, because I was always building models of different fighter jets and stuff. So I always wanted to know more about what each jet was about. What was it? What was the purpose of it? What was the or what were the different variations of that jet? What purpose did it serve? So I was always looking for more. With a great friend. 11 and a half hours in the King Air. Wow. That is quite a flight. Yeah, I didn't grow up around aviators, but I grew up I always loved aviation. And I had initially I was going to go to San Jose State in California. This was a long time ago. And they have an aviation program there. not you don't necessarily become a pilot, but just work in the aviation field. And uh, I was so serious about it, I'd already picked a fraternity. Oh wow, oh wow, that's amazing. I'm kind of jealous now. Let me refresh my. I think I'm running a little bit behind on the stream here on the view. So yeah, and uh, I think I would have done well in that program, with the aviation program, but I didn't pursue it, which I kind of regret. I think I would have done well with that. Oh, he sold the 310. Oh wow. Yeah, I would imagine the Widgeons probably on the maintenance on those is probably pretty insane. Okay. But yeah, they had a whole a lot of the guys in the fraternity that I it was already looking to join. They were in the oh, he's rebuilding another widget. Oh, nice. They were in the aviation program there at San Jose State. Um, yeah, that's I do kind of regret that because I think I would have done well and had a nice career in the aviation field. Whatever I would have done, it would have been nice, I think. But things happen for a reason, as they always say. I told them for a plane that they only made, yeah, nice. Yeah, I wouldn't expect that there would be that many around, but I guess after the war, many of them, people bought them and use them for civilian flights, and probably even I think some people probably bought them for the to use as like a touristy sort of plane, landing and taking off on water and stuff like that. Wow. Yeah. Well, I can imagine after a while. I mean, a big radial engine probably, because I've watched the ice pilots, the Northwest Territory guys, and the big radial engines. They were starting to run out of parts for them, and they're like, yeah, we kind of have to start getting rid of them because we can't. They would look for even just for engines in general to buy just so they had spare parts, and there was less and less for them to be able to use. Oh, I thought they had radials, the Widgeons. Maybe I'm wrong. I thought those were radial. Maybe not. Maybe I'm thinking of the Goose. I think the Goose has radials though. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Inverted. Oh, I did not know that. Thank you. Inverted cylinder. Yeah, that's right. The Goose has the radials. I can't wait for the DC-3 to come in November. That's going to be amazing. And hopefully they get the sound right on that. Uh-oh, my controller batteries are low. Hold on just a second, folks. I'm going to change my batteries real quick. There we go. Converted his to a Pro 6-cylinder Lycons. Oh. I'm guessing that's got a little bit more oomph and probably better, easier to maintain. I like to fly in one of those, just to, well, one day just for the experience of it. That would be amazing. Oh, also, yeah. I was gonna say probably better fuel mileage too. $20 gallons per hour. Nice. So we're on our second track. Supposed to be about an hour and 18 minutes. We've been in the air 25 minutes on this track, I should say, roughly. So once we find the coastline, we should run into our nav point, and then we should see our airport just as we come across the coastline. The airport should be to our lower left there, and then we'll drop altitude and get ready for landing. Back tomorrow, 7:10 Eastern, in the A320 Phoenix to Austin. Should be a decent little flight there. I think it'll take very long to do. That VOR at that airport must be pretty low powered because we haven't even gotten the needle yet. We're past the mountainous area there. Should pick it up pretty soon, I would think. Versus 40 with the old. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, so if you're fully loaded, you get a little bit farther there then. I keep hearing of Lycoming engines. They seem to be I don't know how long they've been around, but some of the planes in the sim seem to, a lot of them have the Lycoming engines. I guess they're really, overall, they're probably one of the best engines out there for flying. Yeah, probably got fuel injection and all that good stuff for a better, more power with less fuel use and all that. Oh, I did not know that. Interesting. I've only Auburn. When I hear of Auburn, Indiana, that's where Auburn and Cord automobiles were from. I think there's an Auburn Cord museum in Auburn, Indiana, still open. I don't know, but I had intended. I always wanted to go through there because I do like the Auburn cars, and even the Cords. Or is it Duesenbergs? I think they all came from. Yeah. I think they all came from. It was either the Cord Duesenbergs or. Yeah, I know they had a car manufacturing plant out there in Indiana that I think is now a museum. Oh, okay. That's where it got started from then. Okay. Interesting. So he not only manufactured engines for cars, but also for aircraft. That's right. Interesting. Yeah, I've seen the Auburns and Cords at car shows over the years, and the Cords are a very different look. I hadn't seen one before in person. You hear about them, but to see one in person is a different thing. The front end looks very strange, but yeah, really, really neat part of American automotive history. It's one of those manufacturers I think most people never really knew much about, because you only heard about Cadillac or Fords or Chevrolets or something. But okay. When the company was liquidated, Ford was the first person to make a car front-wheel drive. Oh, I did not know that. I learn something new all the time. I think I saw the one. It was one of the years I went down to Amelia Island. They had like cowboys and cars, and they had one from I can't remember. It was like a cowboy actor that had a cord um, that was on display. Was it Tom Mix? It was somebody. I have to look it up, but yeah, they had his cord there, which I guess it was like a sign of, they were kind of luxurious in a way, I'm sure. Um, Probably the average person, they either owned a Ford or a Chevrolet or maybe a Dodge. I have seen Tucker cars. Those are pretty interesting as well. Tucker automobiles. I haven't seen the movie about his life story with Jeff Bridges, but yeah. I do. I haven't been to a car show in ages. The last one I think I went to was at Greenwich in 2019. Yeah, it's been a couple of years since I've been to a car show. I used to go to Monterey for the Monterey. They were all Packards. Oh. I've seen quite a few Packards. I've seen the ones that they were used during World War II for like staff cars, stuff like that. Pretty nice looking cars. And Oldsmobiles. Yeah. Yeah, I saw you were talking about the Oldsmobile, the Olds, 338. I think you were talking about the other day. Yeah, it's interesting that Oldsmobile got kind of into the. Oh, nice. Me too. Although I didn't grow up that way. That's the funny thing. I kind of got into cars late. The first time I went to a race at Laguna Seca in 2003 for the Champ Car race there, I was bit by the bug. And after that, the 330 V8, yeah. Um, yeah, and then like a couple years later, I went to my first Monterey Historics race there, Laguna Seca, and after that, it was like I couldn't suck in enough information, Olds Cutlass, nice. My stepdad had a '69 Impala for a while. I think he sold it many years ago with a 330. Oh wow. Actually, no. The last car show. No, wait a minute. The last car show I went to was in Roanoke last year. That's right. In June, towards the end of June of 2020. Yeah. Almost forgot about that. Roanoke, Virginia. Went down to see the train museum. And then the next day was a car show. A lot of classic stuff. Rat rods. Hot rods. All kinds of stuff. Nice. Yeah, all kinds of different stuff. Yeah, my mom and stepdad uh, during the summer they aren't far from Reno, so they would go over to Hot August Nights a long time ago. Um, every so often, I think they were going for quite a while, and then my stepdad was kind of like, it's the same cars every year, nothing new. Like it was kind of worn out because there was nobody really bringing anything different to the show. But they used to go to Hot August Nights for quite a bit. Yeah, the show in Roanoke, it was on the streets. They closed off like a couple blocks or something like that, and they had a lot of stuff spread out. It was a neat show. Um, a lot of different stuff, and even some like the classic pickup trucks. They had some of those. Oh wow, I did not know that. When you say up here, whereabouts are you talking about? Talking about in Indiana or somewhere else? I always wanted to go to like there's always so much to do around Monterey Historics Weekend because you have, oh, Michigan. Oh, nice. Okay. Um, they have the historic races there at Laguna Seca. You have the Pebble Beach Concourse. You have other car shows throughout the area, and then you also have, I think, in Carmel they have they have a car show on the streets there in Carmel and downtown along the nice part of Carmel. I think, well, most every place in Carmel is nice, but along the main. Oakville is Lansing, Michigan. I did not know that. Well, there's like a lot of car history uh, from the Michigan area for many years, and it's all kind of like Pontiac, and all these car manufacturers are no longer in existence. I was surprised when Pontiac went out of business. Okay. Yeah, that was a bit of a shocker when Pontiac went out of business. Starting Duke. Okay. Some interesting names. I see Anakin. uh, I'm into the parts store I used to work at, and my Cutlass was outside. Oh. Yeah, my stepdad will, if I call him and just talk cars, he'll talk to me for like almost over an hour at least, just talking car stuff. Because he went to Laguna Seca many years ago before they changed the layout of the track. There was no infield part, and he used to go to the Can-Am races up there, and they would just come through the start finish line and then hang a hard left and go up the hill towards the, and then hang another left. And yeah, he used to always tell me stories about he used to go down there for races. I have to admit, one of the groups that I didn't think I would like, but I grew to like, was they had the classic Trans Am. Said that he was one of the first people to drive around the proving grounds in '65. Wow. Stories he could probably tell. Amazing. Well, I see a coastline here, it looks like. A couple days later with a cardboard tube, and it was hand-drawn plants. Oh, wow. That's really cool. Yeah, you can't find stuff like that. I mean, you could probably find it at like um, they have a swap meet up in Syracuse, not far from where I live, um, in New York, that you could probably find stuff like that. Ooh, wow. Oh yeah, the stories he could probably tell during that time. Oh, man. Just like anybody was an engineer, probably even in the '60s for like Ferrari or Ford or Chevrolet, during that period of time, the stories that they would have is just, it would be amazing to hear. People like that ought to write books and tell the stories of the early years of the, well, not the early years, but like the the 60s, the pony car era, and the muscle cars, and you and all that would be just an amazing story, I think. Okay, I see this coastline. Let's have a look here at skyvector.com and have a look and see if we kind of figure out where. Okay, we're well out of the mountainous region. Looking for some water inlets that might give us a clue. I think I see where we are roughly. So we are about halfway, I'm guessing almost halfway to our fixed point there. 93, wow. Yeah, people like that, the stories they could tell, and like I remember years ago, I met a Pearl Harbor survivor. He was a machinist mate for the Navy during World War II, and his hands were all like curled up from working on machines and all that, all the stuff that he did. But that's what his whole life was. But his hands were just like all, clenched up from all the years of working with his hands and all that. But amazing stories. Wow. When stuff was still kind of done by hand, the shaping of the metal and all that. It's amazing that the stuff built by hand tends to last a lot longer than stuff manufactured using a machine. It just seems like it was more, it was more personal because somebody did that work with their hands. It wasn't just fabricated and molded or whatever. It was shaped with a purpose. Yeah. And I think probably even like the early, would probably imagine even the early Cadillacs were in the early, all that stuff was by hand, and it was a trade you learned. Yeah. 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 What? Now I know why I like you, Sergeant Staff. We could talk cars all the time. I like that. If you click on my there should be a link to my Flickr page, and there's tons of car pictures. Matter of fact, there's pictures from the last car show I went to here in Roanoke. You'll probably find all kinds of neat stuff, but there's all kinds of pictures of cars. All the times I went to Laguna Seca for the car race and everything, the historic races. So what's your fun fact? Curious to hear. Alright, so there is that. So I have a feeling like we keep going out here, and then our airport should be like somewhere up in that neck of the woods. So we're dropping altitude now, nice and safely. 44% fuel left in the tank. Enough to get there and land. Did you know that the carriage that is used in the Budweiser commercials was built in the 1800s by... I did not know that. Huh. I did not know. I remember the commercials, what you have with the Clydesdale horses and all that. Interesting. Well, I'm gonna guess. Was it Chevrolet or was it? Something tells me it was like Louis Chevrolet was the one that built it. Studebaker. I was way off. The car that I saw that I was impressed with is the Avanti from Studebaker, their little Italian-looking sports car. There was a couple times down at Amelia Island that they had a whole, like the cars and coffee thing, they had a whole section of nothing but Studebaker Avantis. Yes, Louis Chevrolet was a race car driver. Most people don't know that. Originally French, I believe. Yeah, the Avantis were very nice looking cars. There's like a whole group, I think, in the South that has a bunch of penniless and poor, and now his company is worth a lot. Well, depends on what the stock market, I guess. But yeah, and working at his factory on the line. Well, if you could only see what Chevrolet's turned into today, I think you'd be amazed. I did not know that. And well, it's kind of like, you've ever seen the movie with Michael Keaton, who he was the guy that Ray Kroc, who started McDonald's, but it turned out there was more to the story, and they show that the two brothers shake hands, and then they never got a penny out of the deal. He promised them all kinds of money, and they never got a dime out of that, and it was turned into a $1 billion corporation. I never knew that story until I saw that movie. Oh, watch that! It's an amazing movie, but it's also a bit heartbreaking. Yeah, I think it's called The Founder with Michael Keaton. Yeah, it's an amazing story, but yeah, it's what you got for trivia? Let's see if I know the answer this time or not. Useless knowledge. No, nothing is useless. You never know. There's nothing wrong with knowledge. That's the great Ford Model T. Yes, one of the most popular Fords. That was like the affordable car. Yes, I did see that. That the Dodge brothers did work for Ford. Back in the day. Yeah, I was surprised by that. That part I didn't know until I saw a thing about there was a Model T on display, and they talked about that. I forget where I saw it at one of the car shows. Yep. I was like, wow, I did not know that they'd worked for Ford until they broke off and did their own car company. So I guess they kind of learned from Ford what worked and what didn't. Yeah, I can believe it. He seemed like a person that would have, quite honestly. But yeah, I did see that. I was like, wait, Dodge worked for Ford. Wow. Yeah, I could see that though. Yeah, I believe it. Well, the whole family seemed a bit scummy over the years. They're yeah, they're not the dealings that Henry Ford, like the whole deal with Ferrari that fell apart, and then he got mad and was like, "We're gonna go beat them," and then the way he treated Ken Miles, and he didn't want Ken to win after all the work that he did with the GT40. Yeah, he was a very smart on the production line, creating that and all that, but his character was less than. Yeah, when I saw the movie, the real life version of what happened with Ford and Ferrari, um, that they did not want Ken. He was basically told to hold back and let somebody else win. I thought there was a lot of class that was lost there, and that was from Henry Ford II. I think he was the one that made that decision. Got hauled in a backward. Wow. I seen some of the, like I have a picture somewhere. I think it was the first time I went down to went over to the car show at Hilton Head. They had a Ford. Maybe it was the second time I went, but they had a nice Ford Model T. I think it was a Model T pickup. One of the early pickups in America. That was kind of interesting design, I thought. Run an ad real quick. Get ready to land here. All right, folks, we're going to get ready to land here pretty soon. I'm crossing this river here. And out. Oh, there's the... Okay. So this river here, we passed that, and then we're going to continue out over the coastline a bit, and then we're going to turn in on... I've already dialed in the ILS frequency. The thing is, we can go to Greenfield Village and see the places where this stuff was built. That's a great. I think that's a great thing to be able to go and see where a lot of this stuff was created and talk about the history of the company and whether it was good or bad. Like where I grew up, or not where I grew up, where I live right now, Link Aviation. Is in this area that made that created the flight simulators to teach aviators during World War II. But there's a museum, like a tech museum downtown. For what I did, the lady who's like the curator, and I don't know if she's still there or not. They have a whole bunch of documents at the buildings and moved them to Michigan. Oh, Wright Brothers Edison Lab. Oh, I did not know they were from there originally. Interesting. They at the university across town, they have a whole historic document department, and you can go in and if you're doing research or whatever, you can you can read them. You cannot photocopy the documents. Oh, but they had their bicycle shop up there in oh, okay. I did not know that. But all these documents from Link that he wrote, the letters he wrote to Army Air Corps officers and even officers in the RAF during World War II, and even Canadian Royal Air Force officers. They talked about, hey, when you come to town, we'll host you, we'll have dinner, and all that kind of stuff. Really interesting insight to the person of who Edwin Link is or was. He he paid his employees well enough that they never I think, if I remember correctly, and I might be wrong, and I think even the shoe factory, when it was here in town, everybody got paid well enough that they never thought about unionizing. Didn't matter what your job was there in the factory. You got paid well enough, and nobody ever considered unionizing against the company. But yeah, it's a really fascinating, all these personal letters that he wrote to these officers and stuff, and talking about, oh, when you're in town, we'll go hunting. They had like a hunting lodge somewhere, or fishing or whatever. And I didn't know this, but even the company, they had different hobby groups. Like if you were into photography, there was like a photography hobby group within the company, and they would have like a competition or whatever, a little photo show for the employees that they were in the photography club, and they could showcase their photography and all that. Everything was all about social. There was a whole social aspect to work. But I think somebody told me, who grew up in the area when IBM was here, and said that it used to be that when you worked for IBM, you had to go talk to your boss. If you were thinking about buying a house, you were supposed to go, because your boss was usually somebody much older and had more life experience and could tell you, yeah, it's a good deal, or no, you're going to, lose money and be broke and stuff like that. But yeah, they were very involved in people's lives in a way that most people would not appreciate today. They'd be like, no, I think I can buy a house. I have a loan officer or finance person that would tell me and all that. But yeah, a lot of people that still live in the area worked for IBM years ago and bought their houses. Their houses are paid off already. Yeah, it's there used to be an area called the IBM Glen. It was like they had a swimming pool and like a indoor sports facility, like basketball courts, I think, and all kinds of other stuff that for the IBM employees, that I think they've turned it into something else. I know they were refurbishing it to turn it into something else, but I don't know what they've done with it since. But they have a whole like hiking trail up behind it that you can there's like a nice waterfall, and it's, you can walk around the whole thing. It's a pretty interesting area. All right, we are almost here, folks. Let's see if I can see that little, I think that is it should be our landmark there. So I see this waterway, I believe. Looking for yep, okay. See this part here on the sky vector chart. I'm going to turn out a little bit, and then our airport should be coming up here soon for landing. Got the ILS already dialed in. Oh, there, matter of fact, now we were seeing the needle. Help us line up for approach. Do appreciate everybody coming in and hanging out. Thank you, Sergeant Staff, for the conversations about the cars. Some history, some trivia, interesting stuff. Always nice to have different kinds of conversations while we're flying. Doesn't always have to be about the sim. Just no politics or anything that gets people riled up. That's the only thing I ask. Yeah, nice to see you here. So I'm guessing, I'm going to ask this question. If you, I can talk about anything. So by your name, were you in the military before, or? I'm kind of guessing by your name you were, except that last. Yeah, I prefer not to talk about politics because people get all people can get upset about stuff, and I don't want that. Oh, negative. Oh, okay. By your name, I thought you were former military or something. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Nice. Nothing wrong with that. Alright, that looks like an airport right there, because we do see a couple people on the ground, so that should be it. Excuse me, I almost coughed in everybody's ears. Try not to do that. I have noticed there is a pretty decent veteran community within the flight sim community, which is nice to have. Oh, Quartermaster Corps. Nice. World War II vets. My grandfather he was a tech sergeant in the combat engineers. Got a picture of him on a German anti-aircraft battery that they captured. He was also part of the engineer group that built the longest Bailey Bridge in Germany during World War II. All right, there's our airports. My grandfather, I think on my dad's side, I don't know. He might have served in World War II, but I don't remember. But my grandfather on my mom's side did. And then moved the family to California, where he worked for Montgomery Ward's for 20 years. He was became the manager of the paint factory in the Bay Area. Worked his way up from cleaning the shop floor all the way to general manager of the factory. My dad was in the Coast Guard. Cousins that were in Vietnam. Mom's dad was a trainer at Fort Carson. Ooh. Fort Carson, Colorado. Never truck driver in Hawaii. That might not have been a bad job. Being a truck driver in Hawaii. Sounds like pretty decent duty. I served for, seems like forever. Finally out. He's 7 years this October. He loved pineapples, yeah. I can imagine that must have been like being in Hawaii and, being a truck driver in the military. It might have, yeah, that sounds like really good duty. '94, wow. Amazing. Yeah, I think I was the last one in the family to have served. The trainer was my idol. Yeah, that's not an easy task, training people. I remember just doing even training. He was, nice. I was a medic for my last job in the Army and teaching combat lifesaver stuff. A lot of people just didn't really take it seriously. He owned a dealership. Oh, you couldn't. Well, it's not a medically okay. Well, and there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people wanted to serve, and the way I look at it is, I learned the hard way. It's definitely not for everybody. I always say that I stayed probably longer than I should have. Yeah, it's not an easy life, that's for sure. Well, I guess it is, depending on your job in the military. You can have it somewhat easy, but It's not, definitely not for everybody. Alright, we should be lining up here in a moment. Let that needle get a little bit more parallel. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Oh, no thanks necessary. I just, it was one of those decisions. I knew early on in my life I was going to serve. It was just a matter of what branch and all that. But I definitely had stayed in probably far longer than I should have. But you know, it is what it is. All right. We're close enough. I think we can go ahead and start turning in. We definitely need to bleed off more altitude here. Yeah, well, that's the important part. Sometimes that's what veterans do need is advocates for help and stuff like that. That's just as important as anything else, I think. All right, we should be at 2,500 by now, and we're not. Definitely got to drop a lot of altitude before we get on the final. Yeah, it was quite the adventure. Let's just put it that way. So that should be our runway right over here. A lot of people in the air now in this area. There's another Concorde. If he's climbing or descending. Looks like he's starting to descend somewhere. Definitely need to be much lower than we are now. Oh, M1s, yes. My dad used to have one that he sold some time ago. That was one of his favorite weapons to use. He bought years ago somewhere. I don't remember where, but he said he was kind of upset that he had to sell it, but he needed the money. But he was like, he wasn't using it. You know, hadn't taken it to the range for a while, and the person who bought it was like, yeah, he'll take care of it and shoot it on a regular basis and all that. So. Alright, we are heading in on final. So, of course, I am going to turn the laptop to the right, folks, as I prepare for landing, just so I don't get distracted. I will catch up with the chat once we are on the ground here in Thailand. Passengers, prepare for landing. However, in the cabin, they turn off the intercom, the noise that it makes, something like that. And here we are. We use some visual navigation today, a little bit of VOR stuff. Now we're finishing up with an ILS approach. Probably not the most not the spot on approach, but close enough. Close enough for government work, as we like to say. Close enough for horseshoes and hand grenades as well. Back tomorrow, 7:10 Eastern, in the Airbus A320 Phoenix to Austin, Texas. Phoenix, Arizona, Austin, Texas. The retro American Airlines liveried A320. Which one is the runway and which one's the taxiway? Okay, oh, still, oh, I'm sorry. I gotta look at the airport layout. Ooh, crap. I'm way offline here. There it is. Alright, so it should be in the center. It's like. Yeah, there's a massive taxiway, so it's easy to kind of confuse what is what. Oops. Alright, now I see the runway a little bit clearer. Alright. Oh, okay. No, it doesn't, well, yeah, I don't know, you do have commercials, and I didn't really pay attention to how long they usually were, Sergeant Staff. But yeah, it cuts out, like, I pick you up, like, after a certain point, after the commercial, so... Yeah, some people said that there's a bit of a glitch when it comes to Twitch and the commercial stuff. So, like, somebody came in one day and said that they had like 9 commercials in a row. They had to close down their browser and then reopen it, and they were good. So, yeah, it might be a bit of a weird situation. All right, here we go. It's all good. Thanks for letting me know. I've tried to space it out to see if I can. Sometimes it kind of like does its own thing for some reason. All right. There's the runway, okay. See, it's weird because it looks like this is the lineup right here's the runway, but that's part of the taxiway. At least on the charts, that's on the chart I was looking at. Let's get a little bit, we need to drop a lot of altitude still. Yeah, see, this part looks like it leads you into the runway, but the runway is to the left. But I think there's construction going on at this airport as well. I think they're expanding it. Something. Kind of high here. I need to get better about coming in a little bit lower and flatter so we kind of have enough space to bleed off the speed early on over the runway. Touch down a little bit quicker. This is good. Use as much of that runway as we need to. There we go. On behalf of myself and the entire flight crew, we'd like to welcome you to Suvarnabhumi, Thailand. Local time is let's see, I think 11:30 in the evening. I think I might be wrong. We understand and appreciate the fact that you have a lot of options when it comes to your Microsoft Flight Simulator live stream viewing pleasures, and we're glad that you chose to fly with us today. Do join us tomorrow on the A320 Phoenix to Austin. Anyways, I own an M1 and shoot in national competition. Oh, no plane! Don't do this to me. Oh, I totally nosed it over on the slowdown. Doggone it. Oh, come on. Really? Oh, bloody heck. Prop strike. Yep. Well, I get a nice landing and then this happens. It's like I could still steer, though. Let's see. Oh, I thought maybe I could get it to... Oh, man. Let's see if I can... Yeah. That's the... I almost had one before, and then it was like I was able to get it to settle back down, but this time I cannot. It's weird. I feel like I could still turn. Like it's still going. Oop. Let's see if I can put the parking brakes on. Maybe I can. Nope. Oh well. Alright, let's see if we can just taxi to the parking spot from here. Yeah. 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 Oh well. Let's see if I can make it to a parking spot. Still. It's like I still can steer. It's weird. Yeah, see, it's like yeah, I could still steer. I don't. I'll take it. I don't care. We'll get off the runway here. Oh boy, yeah, it happened a couple weeks ago. I think I almost had one, but I was able to get it to settle back down and. I should have probably gone a little bit farther down the runway there and bled off a little bit more speed, and then I could have slowed down a little bit better. Well, I was steering. Now I think it's kind of given up on me. Yep, now it's kind of like, nah, you're stuck this way. What we're going to do is we're going to just go right over this grass here, and we're going to go right into that parking spot as best as we can. Can't believe this. Oh well. All right, there it is, and then the batteries. Wait, it should have just cleared, stopped right there. Okay, now I gotta find the batteries. Battery. Oops. Where is the master battery? There we go. All right. Ooh, so one of the things, so starting on the runway, we do get credit for the takeoff. It's the cold and dark that we don't get credit for takeoff. That's the problem. So for the near future, we're going to start near the departure runway and go from there. So, so we got credit for takeoff and landing. So yay! Doesn't matter that we're facing down into the ground with a prop strike. So anyway, well, let me put that into our lovely FS hub real quick. That flight. So I get that. Oh, so yeah, we got it was an hour. It's supposed to be hour. So yeah, roughly about an hour 18, I think, for our flight time there. Let's see. Add flight. Let's see. We went from VY. Oops. VY. 1143 to VTBS 1434. Gotta find the Yonkers 52. I know it's on the list here somewhere. There it is. Perfect. All right. Well, that will definitely been there, done that. Yeah. So yeah, that'll be it for today, folks. Thank you all for coming in and hanging out. Greatly appreciate seeing you all here. Thank you for the conversations and for hanging out for the entire flight. It's got a message. But anyway, I will see you all tomorrow, 7:10 Eastern, 11:10 UTC, in the A320. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot. I promised something. Just so that everybody gets an idea. So let's pop into the Concorde real quick. Not exactly the best view, but you'll get an idea, kind of, I think. Well, it is a good view. What am I saying? Let's go up here. There it is, in the classic British Airways livery. So here it is, folks. This is the flight deck of the Concorde. Although this doesn't... Okay, yeah. It just seemed, for some reason, maybe it's because we're in a hangar. The lighting isn't that good. But here's all the instruments for the pilot and the co-pilot. All kinds of bits and bobs there. All buttons and stuff that'll cause all kinds of chaos. And then this is the engineer station, the flight engineer. All this stuff. Watching the engines, the fuel, all that. So a lot of the startup. Well, thank you, startup staff. I greatly appreciate that. Yeah, this is where all the startup stuff happens, pretty much right here. In this. Oh, let me refresh the stream here real quick, since we're running a bit. It seems like we're way behind here now. So yeah, this is the entire engineer station, and then they have like a whole thing for the notes and reminders. You know, like a little sticky about for your fuel use. Yeah, all this stuff is the entire flight engineer station. So all kinds of interesting stuff. Now, in theory, we're supposed to, along the way, because the way the plane flies, the fuel has to be continuously moved to change the center of gravity to maintain the speed and everything. But the flight engineer, the virtual one, will take care of all that for us. But we can do it ourselves in the checklist if we want. If we want to handle it all. I think it does. Yeah, like I've flown it before, and the flight engineer did move the fuel. There's a way that they change the fuel pumps, and then they move the fuel around within the fuel system to maintain the center of gravity. So I think it'll do that. But there is, on the checklist, you can go through at different points of the flight and check that and do it yourself if you want to. But that's a pretty involved. Like you got to really keep on top of that during the flight. So, but yeah, all the startup stuff happens right here for the most part. There's a few buttons over here that we have to push for startup, but generally everything happens over here. And then there's your co-pilot seat. They have the same instrument panel roughly as the pilot. I think the center of gravity system is this part right here. This right there. It's part of the. You have to measure. Or no, there it is. Center of gravity. This one right here. And then you have to lower the nose for your takeoff. Like turn. Steering. Taxiing around and for takeoff, and then once you start climbing up, you raise the nose up, and then it's all set for going to Mach 2 for your cruise. All your engine stuff that you have to hit switches at certain times to get for your climbing speeds, to get to your cruising speed and all that as well. So yeah, all kinds of. So yeah, if you think the Junkers 52 is a bit chaotic, look at all this. Yeah, for those who said that I couldn't do the Junkers 52. So, but it's not it doesn't take long if you have the checklist and you go through it. The startup isn't too terribly bad. It'll point, usually you can find the buttons. But I do have a manual that DC Designs put together that has each panel and what buttons are there and all that kind of stuff, so you can find it fairly quickly if necessary. And then going through the cabin, of course, I think we can go right through the door, maybe. Yep. So you have the galley, and then all the way. So you got some bottles of champagne here. I think there's one of these doors open for the toilets, the loos. So yeah, these are all the onboard bathrooms, and here's the seating area. And then there's these panels would show like your cruising altitude. Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. Although I've seen the flight deck of the DC-6, and that's still got quite a bit to go through. But this would show like your cruising altitude and the speed. And according to what DC Designs said about the history of the Concorde, the pilot, they would dial the number if they were just below Mach 2, they could change the display so if that they could show, they would tell the passengers that they were going Mach 2, because if they were showing Mach 0.9 or whatever, oh, we didn't get a Mach 2 experience. So they would fudge the numbers a little bit, and people would believe that they were going Mach 2, because how else they wouldn't know otherwise, right? So yeah, they would fudge the numbers. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of systems here that are probably, if one side fails or something fails, another side could take over and all that. But so this is it. So we will get to grips. I will be getting to grips with this. We'll do a flight from JFK to Heathrow. Get a flight done in this eventually. But yeah, I'm gonna probably have to follow the checklist the entire way, because I think that's what the pilots actually did in real life. They had a checklist that they, certain points they had to pull that out and say, okay, we got to do this, and so it may look like it was easy once they got cruising, but I think they were pretty busy for that 2.5 hour flight to Heathrow. So probably going to be a little bit less than 2.5. If we get a nice tailwind, we'll get there a little bit quicker. So, but we'll get up to 60,000 feet, get to Mach 2, and listen to the sonic booms for a bit, and we'll be good to go. So yeah, that's what it looks like. So anyway, that will do it. Now they just winged it. Yeah, really, they did, I guess. Anyway, that's going to do it for today, folks. I greatly appreciate everybody coming in and hanging out. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Hopefully you enjoy the rest of your... Yeah, I can imagine. I know, it's okay. Hope you enjoy the rest of your Monday morning, afternoon, evening time, early Tuesday, depending on where you are in the world. I have been and always shall be your host and pilot, Uncle B. Until tomorrow, peace, live long and prosper.